Hello and welcome to You with Jesus. When I first started preparing the topics for You with Jesus, I went through all four Gospels, noting every key piece of teaching, every miracle, every event, so that I wasn't missing anything obvious. And one repeated theme I discovered on so many pages of the Gospels was the simple act of people eating together. I realized that much of Jesus' ministry was happening in the context of meals. And I realized I was going to have to dedicate an entire episode to food.
Yummy!
I wouldn't describe myself as a foodie, and I wouldn't say I have the gift of hospitality either. However, I have spent a lot more time in the kitchen over the last 5 years, and I now have a much greater appreciation for what goes into preparing a meal than I used to. I can even say I actually enjoy cooking now, and I enjoy eating food, but I'm no connoisseur. In fact, I'd go so far as to say that really good food is wasted on me. I'm perfectly happy with a homemade pizza, half a glass of not so expensive red. But the one thing I do enjoy is spending time with others over a meal. There is something universally sacred about a shared meal. I want to zoom in on part of a passage that we looked at in the previous episode. When you enter a house, first say peace to this house. If someone who promotes peace is there, your peace will rest on them. If not, it will return to you. Stay there, eating and drinking whatever they give you, for the worker deserves his wages. Do not move around from house to house. When you enter a town and are welcomed, eat what is offered to you. This passage forms part of Jesus' instructions to the 72 when he sent them out to preach and to heal. They were to go in pairs ahead of him into the towns where he himself would be visiting. They were the forerunners engaged in a mobile mission venture to various towns and villages, and in each place they went to, they were to stay with the local people. The other option, of course, would have been to have stayed in a local village inn. And in preparation for this episode, I did some research into first century inns, and they most certainly were a thing. In fact, during the time of Jesus, there was an extensive system of roads that had been built by the Romans connecting all of the major towns to each other. And so traders and business people would use these roads and stay at the local inn. You might remember that in the story of the Good Samaritan, that the Samaritan bandaged up the wounded man and took him to an inn and paid for all his expenses. But very clearly in this situation, Jesus says the 72 are not to use the local inn. They are to stay in the homes of the local people. And Jesus gives a few specific instructions concerning the homes that they are to stay in. One, homes that welcome them were said to be places of peace and blessing. And if someone didn't want to welcome them, then simply move on to the next place. Two, when you find that host who is a person of peace, stay there until it's time to leave the village. Don't move around from house to house. Three, eat and drink whatever they give you. Now, there's two aspects to this. Don't try and pay for the meal or give anything in exchange for it. Just eat or drink whatever they give you. Let them serve you. Let them bless you. And B, don't turn your nose up at anything that you don't think is kosher. Eat whatever you are served. Drink whatever you are served. I've travelled a fair bit in Indonesia and I've eaten local delicacies like rat and bat with a generous amount of spices, I'd have to say. I think I've eaten dogs as well, but I was just told it was beef. Generally, my stomach was fine, but the most violent reaction was when I was walking on a small island in North Maluku and I went past this very small village and a very small home and had a group of men sitting outside in a circle. And they waved me over to join them, which was very kind, I thought. They then offered me a drink. My mind was saying, you really shouldn't drink it. You don't know what it is. But I do like the idea of eating and drinking whatever is put in front of me, so I warmly accepted the gift and drank it down, much to their great satisfaction. They were smiling and nodding, and I was smiling and nodding. But within a short time, I wasn't feeling good at all. I stood to my feet, politely said my goodbyes, and hurried off. You don't need to know the details from here on. Suffice to say, it is the sickest I have ever been in my whole life. And I stayed that way for at least a week. Yes, eating and drinking whatever it is you are served does come with its perils. There are many occasions where meals were significant in the Gospels. Jesus' first miracle turning the water into wine? Was it a wedding reception? The tax collector Matthew threw a party for all his outcast friends and invited Jesus and the disciples. Jesus was invited to have dinner at a Pharisee's house. He fed 5,000. Jesus shared the Last Supper with his disciples. And of course, there are many more examples. Sharing a meal with others speaks of the hospitality of God, that he would come and welcome us to his table. Isaiah the prophet describes this relationship with God as being like a meal. Come, all you who are thirsty. Come to the waters, and you who have no money, come buy and eat. Come buy wine and milk without cost. Why spend money on what is not bread, and your labour on what does not satisfy? Listen to me and eat what is good, and you will delight in the richest of fare. One of the repeated pictures we have of eternity is this idea of sitting down with all God's people in the presence of Jesus and celebrating a feast together. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, when we share a meal with others in Jesus' name, we are experiencing a foretaste, excuse the pun, of what it is like to enter into relationship with God, a relationship of love, of joy, and of abundance. And in having meals with others, sometimes we're the host and sometimes we're the guest. And Jesus says when we do host, we shouldn't do it with any thought of being invited back. If we have an expectation that others will return the favour, we have moved away from the practice of hospitality, away from grace, and turned it into law and obligation. As I mentioned, I love entertaining, even though I don't think I'm very good at the food part, but I do have 2 or 3 meals that appear to work, and I just cycle through them. Community is not built attending a Sunday service. It happens around meals. And it's not all about you inviting your people into your home. The power of the sending out of the 72 was that they were in other people's homes. When we allow other people to serve us, it creates a special connection. It's also a powerful way to meet the members of that household. It's an opportunity for you to meet their friends rather than you controlling the environment. It opens up opportunities for us to build bridges for the good news in ways that inviting them into our own space doesn't allow for. It also shows a willingness and respect to meet others in their environment. And we don't have to take anything with us. We don't have to invite them back. Simply let them serve you and extend your blessing to that home and those who live there in Jesus' name. I think Zacchaeus climbing up a tree to see Jesus and Jesus saying, I'm going to come to your place for lunch today. Then over the course of the meal, there's this powerful encounter where Jesus declares, today salvation has come to this house. Things happen over meals. Conversations that Jesus had around meals were of great significance, whether it was explaining why a woman had emptied a bottle of perfume over Jesus' feet, or explaining why he and his disciples didn't wash their hands before the meal, or explaining about the bread of life, or demonstrating what it meant to serve others. All of these teaching opportunities happened in the context of a meal. I don't know what your world looks like, and I don't know what is practical for you in all of this, but I encourage you to consider the specific people God might be putting on your heart to have a meal with, either at your place, their place, or maybe it's going to be an outdoor picnic or a barbecue. And when you eat and drink together, see it not just as socializing, but as a very important aspect of the ministry of Christ through you, and approach it prayerfully and expectantly. See you in the next episode.